All right, we are recording, and it's getting late, so hopefully this will be short. But well, that's not exactly what I do, so we'll see. It's nice to hope. Um, so yeah, a few notes from this one. This basically goes from, hang on, where is it? Where exactly is? Oh yeah, them getting off. So that on the Millennium Falcon, leaving the Death Star, and to Luke being in the X-wing, about to leave from Yavin 4 to attack the Death Star. Yeah. So it picks up with like Leia getting the next chapter picks up with Leia going to the control room. Um, Quite a few things that are worth noting here. One is, and this is kind of sort of in the movie. Can't you? I mean, at least the emotion is, if not the line. Can't you see what the old man meant to him? Leia said to Han. When Han is like, "Hey, we got to get to the guns to destroy the Tie Fighters." Um, So I decided to look it up. Some people are speculating that the entirety of A New Hope is 6 days. The whole of it. And the attack on the blockade runners, so it opens up, is like a day before Luke meets R2, which is then the day after that he meets Obi-Wan. So that's 2 days gone. So looking at 4 here. We're losing another day for the final day. So 3. And Obi-Wan would have been killed on that third day because I saw one thing saying that yes, it looks like Obi-Wan's death, and that because of Vader does have a line in the book even that implies that it's the same day that he would both kill Kenobi and then destroy the rebels. And sorry, I think I have something on my glasses. Anyway, so Luke has known him a full 2 days, maybe 3. Maybe rounding up, we get to 3. Can't you see what the old man meant to him? And to be fair, Leia has no concept of that. But I'm just making this point of Luke is really broken up here. It's like we're seeing him quite despondent here over the dude he's known, actually been interacting with for 2 days. Now, to be fair, this could be kind of built up that, because Uncle Owen and Aunt Beru would have died on that first day. I mean, it's would have died 2 days ago. So basically, the same day that he's really getting to know Kenobi. So yes, it is possible that it's built up, and now just Kenobi also dying is triggering it to come out at this point. Though he is only despondent, it's not like he's crying or anything like that. And he does snap out of it when Han just is like, you don't want the sacrifice to go to waste. Fair point. But one thing, going back to the whole, it could be building up. There's no mention of that in the book, and they could have had something in there, just mentioning how, just naming them that Owen, Beru, and now Obi-Wan, he has lost as well. They could have done something there, but no, it's basically Obi-Wan was his family. It's like, well, what about his actual family? Obi-Wan was his family. So not that is not the death you're concerned about or something. I mean, it's really stupid. I'm sorry, but well, I shouldn't say stupid, but it is. They could do better here, I think, in addressing this. I did like this though. I did like something that they did here. They have a line in it. He had fired such. So this is he's getting into the area at the turret at the cannon to fire at the TIE fighter. So very shortly after what I was just describing, the moment I was describing, he had fired such weapons 1,000 times before in his dreams. I like this. I like this because this is reminding us that Luke. It was set up in the beginning, or at least talked about, that he was very imaginative, and this was a kind of restless imagination where he didn't like where he was, and so his mind was taking him to these other places. And so now he's basically in one of those very adventures that he had dreamed about. So I liked that finally connecting back. I feel like they could do another point of this, reminding us of this. We'll see. one other thing about it that I find interesting is this is only mentioned because technically the whole event on the Death Star as well, so everything leading up to this and before Kenobi's death would also count. Would also count as being on an adventure, wouldn't it? And there could have been, some moments in here with him being able to have such a thought. He didn't. It's only after Kenobi's death. So it kind of is interesting that this is his last connection back to Tatooine, because the droids are not from Tatooine, are not connected. Old Ben, he'd heard rumors of, even though he wasn't allowed to go near him. He at least was familiar with from Tatooine. So he's lost his home, his family, and now the more or less friend, and everyone else, well, surrogate father, I guess you could also say. Mentor, there we go, mentor. And he has no reason to believe he will ever see any of his friends again from Tatooine. So it's like he is completely disconnected, and now it brings this up. And I do think that's interesting, that this... It is interesting and feel important timing that you mention it now, because it is, not so much a tie to his past, but sort of his character returning. Almost like a healing. He has lost all of his past, but it is healing that there is still this consistency there. Even though you can also still say he is maturing here, but it's like he's remembering that. So it is giving him a consistency there to the character. So it is I like that he did that, that the author did that. Whether that is George Lucas or... I actually don't remember what the name is for the ghostwriter, what his name is. But I do like that decision. I do think that doing it then is very appropriate. Also, it's kind of funny because we know, based on the movie, he does meet, and it in fact does happen in the chapter as well. He meets Biggs later, but we also know from the movie that we expect Biggs to die. So it's, again, he's literally losing every connection to his past, every personal connection to his past, and it's... Yeah, I'm not sure if I would want to do that technically I had an opportunity to. I had a character actually intentionally cut off his connections to his past, and then I end up giving him at least one of them back. But there was meaning to doing so. But it wasn't accidental. He chose to lose his past. And the returning to the return of somebody from his past, it was more closing up some things and just trying to return some continuity to the character. It'll make sense if you ever read it. Put it out. So when he is firing at the TIE Fighter, moving to my next note, there is actually a suggestion there, at least I think it is a suggestion, that Luke was using the Force to help him there. Because it does describe how he tries to relax, and he's not even conscious that he is now aimed and is firing at the TIE Fighter that's coming in. And this is the first one he destroys. So the previous one that he shot at, he was missing, but as it crossed the plane of the Millennium Falcon, Han picked it up. So they work together effectively there for it. But it is still he's trying and he fails, but when he actually relaxes, like he was told to do when training with the lightsaber by Obi-Wan, and that I think Obi-Wan kind of mind-tricked him to help him do that. Now he's done it for himself as well, and it's proven effective. So I think that if the suggestion is actually there, if I'm not just grasping at that, then this is entirely intentional. It might be... There's two different kinds of intentionality here. It could be intentional of, yes, we planned it this way. It could also be intentional of, well, actually, I thought of it just as I was writing that, and it works out. Either way, there is intent there, and I think that's very appropriate. I did, in the previous chapter, I was talking about how I was pretty sure it was Vader's idea to put the homing beacon on the Falcon, which might have been a just latent memory from the movie, or maybe there was something in an earlier chapter that did suggest that, and I just couldn't find it when I was looking. But here it is stated that, yes, it is Vader who had the idea. So, yes, it is like a competition between him and Tarkin as to how to get the information of where the Rebel base is out of Leia. Because Vader had the first chance, which was torture. Tarkin manipulated her by threatening Alderaan. And now Vader has manipulated her to get the actual thing by letting them escape. So, yeah. It's like, I kind of like that idea of the competition between them, because Tarkin is the only one that has been presented as a rival to Vader that's still a bad guy. Obviously Obi-Wan is also presented as a rival, though it's a little less clear because it's Vader and Tarkin both have a presence of power. Kenobi doesn't. So that's a little different. So it is much more Tarkin and he are rivals. So to have this competition there, it makes sense and is quite appropriate. When R2 is gotten to the Rebel base, it's actually kind of funny because it's mentioned that basically a bunch of people lift up R2 to carry him and do so respectfully. And that was like, this is a sight you never see, which I guess aligns with how, as I recall, Lucas has actually stated that the only racism in Star Wars isn't against any species, it's against droids. Okay, seems a little odd, especially since I thought I had also learned somewhere that the Empire is incredibly racist. So it's like the Stormtroopers are all humans and not other aliens, and part of the reason why in Empire Strikes Back, when they've got the bounty hunters around, that some of the Imperial officers, at least in the movie, are very annoyed by their presence because they are racist. They don't like these other species. But anyway, but it is still the whole R2 being shown such respect is described as being out of the ordinary. But anyway, come back to the actual note. That was just memory. 3PO marvels at how much data was within R2. And he even has a comment in there, a mental comment, that part of the reason why I was surprised is R2 is so simple a droid. That's how he actually describes it. So simple a droid, which I had speculated in a previous video that 3PO potentially just sees himself as superior to R2 when he should not do that. They should be much more equals. And I mean, when you think about it, 3PO is programmed to interact with humans. R2 is not. 3PO has a human form. R2 does not. R2 is also a very utilitarian droid. He's a mechanical droid. He's there to repair things, to fix things. 3PO interacts with people. He's a protocol droid, so I can understand the idea that he would consider himself superior, but he shouldn't. And I do kind of like this, the whole that he's kind of being like, oh, wait, you actually have like a really big brain? Although one thing I wish had been pointed out, and this is, in the movie it's not a plot hole because it's one of those you couldn't really have this in the movie, but in the book they could have, and it would have been interesting. They put the plans for the Death Star in R2, right? But R2 had connected to the Death Star computer as well. Now, he wouldn't have had access to everything, but he was definitely downloading things. He was definitely processing things. So technically, he should have had more information than just the schematics as well available to them, and some of that would also have been useful. Yeah, I mean, why not? I mean, it would have been, I would have liked that. It wouldn't have even been a new line. It would have been like half a sentence, just, lengthening one sentence, talking about the plans, but also what he gained from connecting to the computer. All that actually would be relevant, and all that the rebels would want. So, yeah. One change from the movie, or to the movie, the whole line about you have to hit the target that's only 2 meters across in that briefing, and you have the pilot that goes, that's impossible. Not even a computer could hit a target so small. Whatever the line is. Whatever the specific line is. Luke goes, not really. I used to bullseye womp rats in my T-16. They're not much bigger than 2 meters. That other pilot, it says, is Wedge. It actually does name him as Wedge Antilles. That's not who it is in the movie. Because you do see Wedge during the Death Star attack, and that is a different actor. And different voice. But I also want to add that Wedge does have a response to Luke, which is not exactly challenging Luke, but is more just conveying the pessimism that he feels. That, but did the thousands of Womp Rats there have heavy rifles shooting at you? Just pointing out that, it's not the same thing, which is a very valid point, and my new glasses, and they just attract dirt, it seems. and my vision is not good enough to read what the next note is. I know what the last one is, but I want to save that for last. Okay. So second last note. Blue leader walks up, and this... Yeah, it's in the movie. So Luke is talking to Biggs, and I'm going to talk about Biggs shortly, because there's definitely... I got problems with him. So Luke is talking to Biggs, and then another guy, an older guy, comes over. That's Blue Leaders, who he's identified as in the book. I don't remember who he's in the movie. He might actually be the Red Leader, but whatever. Older, veteran guy comes over to see what's going on, to talk with him a little bit. And Biggs stands up for him and is like, he's the best, Luke is the best Bush pilot in the Outer Rim. Now, something that is not mentioned in the movie, and makes sense why, Blue Leader says, "I knew your father," to Luke. And basically says that if you are half the pilot he was, you'll be better than all right. And it's like, don't worry, saying something that does calm him. So it's even possible then that he's lying. I could see a veteran doing that to somebody if he feels that it would be appropriate, because, I mean, technically you'd need to know that Luke's father was a pilot. Otherwise, it's like, my dad was never a pilot. He literally just farmed. What are you talking about? You'd need to avoid that issue. But it still is the whole, wait a minute. Kenobi, Owen, and Beru lying to Luke about his father becoming Darth Vader, that's one thing. Their family trying to protect him. This is a random dude. So that would have to mean either it is just a straight up retcon, or Darth Vader's identity is hidden. Which, I guess in some ways, if you go by what is in the prequel trilogy, that is possible. Because he is so shortly between Vader and... between Anakin turning into Vader and then Vader having the suit put on that would obscure his face forever, that it is possible that people wouldn't realize the link. But I think it is reasonable that Kenobi knew, and also that Owen knew. That they would be aware of that there. Would there have been others? I don't quite know. I mean, it's also possible Owen didn't know. It was just like, no, we don't. Your father ran off, did this stuff, and he was a fool. He should have just stayed and minded his own business, because that is Owen's mindset. So you can't get away with that. Kenobi absolutely would have known. Because, I mean, he references knowing Luke's father and Vader, so he would have known that they were the same. Of course, it is also possible there's a retcon, well, soft retcon, because it's still, you can just say he lied, as, will be the case in Empire Strikes Back. Or, I guess, rather, Return of the Jedi, that's when you actually have that conversation. But in any case, this is interesting, because you can't escape this. You have to either delete it or come up with, and it is deleted in the movie, it's not in the movie, or go with that no one knew. It is not public knowledge that Vader was Anakin. I'm not sure. I guess it is possible the galaxy is a big place, but at the same time, you had Jedi being exterminated by Vader, Vader having the abilities of a Jedi. You'd think that there would be some connection there, and there might be some information with Legat, so I don't know. Plus, I'm not sure how big an issue it would be. Well, I mean, I guess it is true. In plenty of fiction, when somebody changes their name, it is... They don't acknowledge the prior name anymore. When it is something like that it is... Yeah, so I guess it is possible. But anyway, final note, final point here, and this annoys me, is about Biggs. So as I mentioned, I looked it up. Some are speculating that it in total is about 6 days that this story takes place over. Okay. First day, no. So 5 days, right? Between when we first meet Biggs. Well, actually, no, I take that back. Because Luke saw the battle going on in the sky. So, no, full 6 days. Luke has full 6 days between the current events, which are going to fight the Death Star, and at the beginning of the book, when he goes into Tashi Station and sees Biggs there. And Biggs tells him he's going to flee the Imperial Navy because he's gone through the academy, he's part of the Navy now, to join the rebels. Here's my problem. Biggs even states he doesn't know where the rebellion is. He's just going to try to find it. And even if he can't, he's still going to do what he can to fight against the Empire, which is very legitimate. In fact, it makes more sense that such a rebellion wouldn't be coherent. You would have a bunch of small pockets that might be completely isolated from each other, and occasionally you would have like an ambassador go around to coordinate and connect them all together. Because, I mean, it does make sense that you would so coordinate, because then that also means it can't be that hard. I mean, how could Biggs find the way to the rebellion, but Vader couldn't? Okay, I mean, it's like, oh, this is easy. We just need some idiot to say that, yeah, I want to join the rebellion, and apparently he can get there in under a week. Anyhow, so Biggs doesn't know how to find the rebellion. He needs to flee from the Imperial Navy, which means finding the opportunity to do so and actually succeeding. This is a major problem. The Navy isn't going to want people to run from them. He needs to find the opportunity to do that. He also needs to get a ship to take him somewhere, because maybe he does have a direct flight to Yavin. He somehow knows that's the way to go. It makes no sense because of the whole, then the Empire would know about Yavin. So it's like, it would make more sense he goes somewhere else, and then from there he goes to Yavin. So it's like some buffer there to protect the Empire from going straight there. He needs something like that, but like this all takes time, right? Luke, on the other hand, he has Leia to direct him once they rescue Leia. They're on the Millennium Falcon, which is already described as, and we can just accept that as being true because we don't have any reason not to believe it, that the Millennium Falcon is the fastest ship around, right? And Luke is free to move around as well. Now, true, maybe Alderaan is in the opposite direction of Yavin. That's possible. That's possible. Because they were aiming for Alderaan, they ended up out there. Possible. But it still is fastest ship, and he can move freely. He's not having to be, okay, my boss isn't seeing me, now I can scurry off. Doesn't have to worry about that. How is Biggs there ahead of him sufficient for him to say to Blue Leader, "Don't worry, sir. He's one of the best pilots in the Outer Rim"? Who the hell are you? Like, when did you get here? Yesterday? Why do I care about your opinion? Who are you? You? Wait a minute, hang on. I just realized something else. I gotta check this now. I gotta look at this. I also find a little bit odd the whole question of, this R2 Unity video seems a little beat up. Do you want another one? Not in your life, the droid and I have been through a lot together. This has been days, remember? Days. And a lot of that, he wasn't actually with R2. Like, a lot of the adventure, he wasn't with R2. R2 ran away, they had to go rescue him. That was, like, the earliest part. Then in Mos Eisley, they have to stay outside of the cantina, and they go to their own thing while Luke and Obi-Wan are selling the speeder. Then they get back together. Then they're on the ship together. But then once they get to the Death Star, the droids are over here. They're off doing their adventure. Now they come. I mean, it's like he's only ever been with R2 when it's at rest, basically. So it's like, anyway. Okay. Okay. So coming back, Blue Leader. Why he knows Luke's name, I don't know. Aren't you Luke Skywalker? Have you been checked out on the Incom T-65? And then this is when Biggs. Luke's the best bush pilot in the Outer Rim. Okay, so the T-65, that's the more tactical name for the X-Wing. And Blue Leader actually does point out that it's very similar. The T-16, is that it? The thing that he was flying, that Luke is familiar with, it's very similar. The controls are similar. So he's like, yeah, you won't have any problem with it. But it's still, aren't you Luke Skywalker? How does he, I guess it's reasonable he would have heard the story about what all happened and who everyone was. But it's, okay, so it is, though, very possible that it's like, okay, I know who you are because Princess Leia told us what happened. Who are you? Your name is Biggs. Okay, What's your last name? I've never met you. Why are you even... Why are you telling me any of this? I know more about him than I know about you. I mean, it's such a problem here, and it really is annoying me. It's going to annoy me in the movie, too. It's down there. So I keep pointing over there, and I'm just acting things out, but... Oh, man, I'm just trying to think. Have I made any of these mistakes in any of my books? In The Children Many Gifts, that's when I have the character who would cut off from his past, then be connected to it again by meeting a character from that past. But one thing, and just to mention that when they actually do meet up, he's like, oh, okay, I guess I need to tell you some stuff, need to explain stuff. And she's like, actually, no, I mean, I got questions, but those are not the ones coming to mind. I mean, which relieves him, but it was just one of those, she kind of moved on enough that to even ask some of the questions doesn't occur to her yet. So I handle it that way, but now I'm just, do I have one? No, I think everyone has an appropriate introduction in my stories, such that you wouldn't have and I don't think I have any timeline stuff where it's like, this person knows you, but this person doesn't, and you need to do, or there's an unreasonable expectation these two people have been introduced, and then there's this third part. I don't think I ever had that. That's always, I'm consistent with that accidentally. As in, I don't think I've ever had something like this, what's in the story here with Biggs come up, which is either I'm just doing it naturally, which is also accidental, I'm counting as that, or I've just never had the situation where it'd be a problem. But it is one of those, I hope if I ever write a story that has such a moment, when at least when I'm going through and editing, to be like, wait a minute, why the hell do they know each other? Why is this relevant? How does this make sense? Because it doesn't make sense. So anyway, next chapter is the penultimate chapter, because it's 13. And I think 13, hang on, because I've seen a little bit of it. It's short. I think it's like just the medal ceremony. I just want to see. It also means that 12 may be quite long. Yeah, 12 is long. Like 40 pages. Well, more like 35 actually. I think that is the longest. Yes, 13 starts not with the medal ceremony, but it is Luke's return to the base on Yavin. But yeah. Okay, so yeah, it's gonna be the whole of that. So we'll have Biggs's death and Ghost Kenobi talking to Luke, which that'll be somewhat interesting. And one other thing that it occurred to me previously, and I want to mention, even though it's going to be relevant in the next chapter, more so than this one. I described Han as being a survivor. That's very much how I would describe his character. And so much of what he's done is completely consistent with that description. Excuse me. Whereas they are referring to him as mercenary. It's like he's only a mercenary because he's a survivor. Like he's a survivor first. And mercenary, as far as the whole getting paid, it's like, well, he's got to pay off Jabba. He also needs to be able to pay for repairs on the Millennium Falcon, pay for a new registration to hide that he was the one who blasted out of Mos Eisley, pay for food. I mean, it's like it serves his survival, which is why he's like, no, I need the money. I mean, it's kind of funny when you think about it. Luke is not at all interested in any reward, and it's like, well, I guess he's 20 and he's only ever been living on a farm. I guess he's own Brew handled all the food, so he doesn't have to be concerned about that. It's just he's kind of naive. Han is very much not. But Han returning to help, as we know from the movie, he will do. Hey, I haven't gotten to the chapter yet. Technically, it hasn't happened yet. I know it will, but yeah. Han's return will be interesting because it is kind of a redemption for him in that he finally does something that is not about his own survival. It is for the benefit of somebody else's survival. He has put himself in danger so another person can't survive. Well, many people actually. So yeah, that'll be interesting. It is. I don't want to say that it's as clear in the movie that there is a kind of redemptive arc for Han, that he does also mature as a person to be not so self-interested. Um, yeah, we'll see. I mean, obviously, the majority of the story is about Luke. But Han is also a character that does develop some. Um, Even 3PO potentially. And like him thinking better of R2 and all that. Um, Leia hasn't really changed. She's been consistent. So yeah, it really is Luke and Han so far as the whole development. I guess Leia, we will hopefully get more of her development in Empire and such. But yeah. Anyway, I gotta stop. It has been. I didn't want it to be a long one, but it ended up being a long one. It's what I do. All right. See you next time.